When Muhammad Ali walked onto the Dean Martin show on October 15th, 1969, nobody expected what was about to happen, especially not Elvis Presley, who was sitting on the couch preparing for his musical performance. What happened in the next 10 minutes became one of the most hilarious and talked about moments in television history, but for decades, the full story remained hidden. It was a typical Wednesday night taping of the Dean Martin Show at NBC Studios in Burbank, California. The place was packed with a live studio audience of about 300 people, all dressed in their best clothes, excited to see Dean Martin's signature blend of comedy, music, and celebrity guests. Elvis was scheduled to perform Suspicious Minds and maybe sit down for a quick chat with Dean about his recent comeback. He was in a great mood that night. The '68 comeback special had reminded the world why he was the king, and now, at 34 years old, he felt like he had something to prove again. Backstage, Elvis was going through his usual pre-show routine, checking his hair, adjusting his black leather jacket, doing a few vocal warm-ups. His longtime friend and guitarist, Charlie Hodge, was with him, going over the arrangement one more time. That's when the door burst open. Muhammad Ali, the heavyweight champion of the world, walked in like he owned the place. He was 27 years old, at the absolute peak of his powers, and he had that energy that made everyone in the room sit up straighter. He was supposed to be on the show too, but nobody told Elvis they'd be there at the same time. "Elvis, Dean Martin told me you were back here," Ali said, his voice booming. "I had to come meet the king. But which king? Because I'm the greatest and you're the king. That's confusing for people." Elvis laughed. It was impossible not to like Ali's energy. "Well, champ, I think there's room for both of us." "Is there, though?" Ali said, circling Elvis like he was sizing up an opponent. "You sing and dance, I fight. But here's my question, Elvis. Can you really move like they say you can? Or is that all camera tricks and fancy editing?" Charlie Hodge later said that moment had a strange energy to it. It wasn't hostile, but it wasn't entirely friendly either. It was two legends, both at the top of their game, trying to figure out where they stood with each other. "I can move all right," Elvis said, smiling but with a slight edge to his voice. "Can you?" "Can I?" Ali's eyes lit up. "Elvis, I float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. My footwork in the ring is better than any dancer's footwork on any stage." "That's fighting footwork," Elvis countered. "That's not dancing." "Dancing? Fighting. It's all rhythm," Ali shot back. "And I've got more rhythm than anyone alive." Before Elvis could respond, a production assistant knocked on the door. "Mr. Presley, you're on in 5 minutes." But something had shifted in the room. What started as friendly banter had turned into something else. Not quite a rivalry, but definitely a challenge. "Wait a minute," Ali said, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. "I've got an idea. Elvis, you and me, right here, right now, dance contest. Let's see who's really got the moves." Elvis stared at him. "You're serious?" "As a heart attack," Ali said. "You sing and shake your hips for teenage girls. I want to see if you can really dance, or if it's all just for show." Charlie Hodge stepped in. "Gentlemen, Elvis has to go on stage in 4 minutes." But Ali wasn't backing down. "Come on, Elvis. Are you the king or aren't you? Or are you scared that the greatest boxer in the world might also be a better dancer than the king of rock and roll?" The challenge hung in the air. Elvis could have laughed it off, could have made a joke and walked away, but something about the way Ali said it, the playful arrogance, the assumption that Elvis might be scared, that got to him. "All right," Elvis said quietly, "but not back here. If we're doing this, we're doing it out there, in front of everybody." Ali's grin got even wider. "Now you're talking." 3 minutes later, Dean Martin was in the middle of his opening monologue when a production assistant handed him a note. Dean read it, looked confused, read it again, then started laughing. "Ladies and gentlemen," Dean said to the camera, his signature cocktail in hand, I've been doing this show for 4 years, and I thought I'd seen everything. But apparently, we're about to witness something that has never happened on television before. Elvis Presley and Muhammad Ali are about to have a dance-off, right here, right now, live. The audience erupted. People were standing up, craning their necks to see if Dean was joking. The cameras swung to the side stage entrance. Elvis walked out first, moving with that easy confidence that made him the king. The audience screamed. Then Ali emerged, doing his shuffle, throwing mock punches at the air, and the place went absolutely crazy. Dean Martin, ever the professional, decided to just roll with it. "All right, gentlemen," he said, his voice carrying that amused, slightly drunk quality that his fans loved. "What exactly are we doing here?" Ali stepped forward and grabbed the microphone. "Dean, it's simple. Elvis here is supposed to be the king of moving and shaking, but I'm the greatest athlete in the world, and I say my footwork is better than his, so we're going to settle this right here, right now." The audience was eating it up. This was spontaneous, unrehearsed, and completely unpredictable, the kind of television magic that money couldn't buy. "Elvis," said Dean, turning to him, "are you really going to do this?" Elvis shrugged, but there was a competitive glint in his eye. "Well, Dean, the champ here seems to think he can outdance me. I can't let that stand unchallenged." The audience roared with approval. Okay, Dean said, clearly loving every second of this chaos. "Here's what we're going to do. We'll play some music. Ali goes first, shows us what he's got. Then Elvis goes. Then we'll let the audience decide who wins. Sound fair?" Both men nodded. "But here's the thing," Dean added, his comedic timing perfect. "I get to pick the music." The audience laughed. Dean was known for throwing curveballs. "All right, band," Dean called out. "Let's start with something up-tempo. Give us some James Brown. I Gotcha." The band launched into a funky, driving beat. Ali immediately started moving, and to everyone's surprise, including Elvis's, he was actually good, really good. Ali's footwork was incredible. He combined his boxing shuffle with actual dance moves, spinning, sliding across the stage, throwing in little Ali flourishes like air punches that somehow worked with the rhythm. His confidence was infectious. He was clearly having the time of his life, playing to the camera, winking at women in the audience, trash-talking while he danced. "Come on, Elvis," Ali shouted over the music. "Let's see if you can top this." When Ali finally stopped, breathing hard but grinning, the audience gave him a standing ovation. Even Elvis was clapping, shaking his head in amazement. "Champ," Elvis said into the microphone, "I had no idea you could move like that." "I'm the greatest at everything," Ali replied, not even slightly humble. "Your turn, King." Dean Martin gestured to the band. "All right, Elvis, show us what you've got. And since Ali got James Brown, let's give you something from your world. Band, give us Jailhouse Rock." The familiar opening riff filled the studio, and Elvis transformed. Gone was the friendly, slightly nervous man from backstage. This was Elvis Presley, the performer, the legend, the king. Elvis launched into his signature moves, the hip swivel that once was considered too scandalous for television, the leg shake that looked effortless but required incredible muscle control, the spins, the poses, the way he could make every movement look both dangerous and graceful at the same time. But here's what made it special. Elvis wasn't just doing his usual routine. He was responding to Ali's challenge. He incorporated some of Ali's boxing footwork, did an impression of Ali's shuffle, then smoothly transitioned back into his own style. It was playful, competitive, and absolutely electrifying. The audience was losing their minds. Women were screaming. Men were whistling. Even the camera operators were having trouble keeping the shots steady because they were laughing and enjoying the show. When Elvis finished, he was barely breathing hard. Years of performing gave him incredible stamina. He walked over to Ali and extended his hand. "Not bad, Elvis," Ali said, shaking his hand. "But I still think I won." "Oh, you think so?" Elvis replied, that competitive edge still in his voice. Dean Martin stepped between them. Gentlemen, I think we need a tiebreaker." The audience roared their approval. "Here's what we're going to do," Dean announced. "You're both going to dance together, at the same time, to the same music. Let's see if you can stay in sync, or if this whole thing falls apart." Ali and Elvis looked at each other. Neither one wanted to back down, but both were starting to realize they might have gotten themselves into something bigger than they expected. "All right, band," Dean said. "Let's go with something everyone knows. Give us the twist." The moment the music started, disaster struck in the most hilarious way possible. Ali and Elvis both tried to lead. They were doing completely different moves. Ali was still doing his boxing shuffle. Elvis was doing his hip swivel. They bumped into each other. Ali tried to spin and nearly took out Elvis's legs. The audience was howling with laughter. This wasn't elegant. This wasn't coordinated. This was two massive egos trying to share the spotlight and completely failing. "Wait, wait," Elvis called out, laughing. "We need a plan." "A plan?" Ali said, also cracking up. "Elvis, you can't plan rhythm. You just feel it." "Well, we'd better feel something together," Elvis said, "or we're going to end up in a pile on the floor." Dean Martin was standing off to the side, cocktail in hand, just watching this unfold with the biggest grin on his face. "This is the greatest thing I've ever seen," he told the camera. Elvis and Ali huddled for a moment, discussing something the audience couldn't hear. Then they broke apart and nodded to the band to start again. This time, they had a strategy. They'd alternate. Ali would do 8 counts of his moves, then Elvis would do 8 counts of his moves. Simple, clean, taking turns. The band started playing again, and it worked. Sort of. Ali did his footwork, looking smooth and confident. Then Elvis took over with his hip action, equally confident. Back and forth they went, each trying to outdo the other, but at least not crashing into each other anymore. But then, in a moment that would become the most talked about part of the entire encounter, Ali decided to try one of Elvis's signature moves, the hip swivel. Ali started swiveling his hips, trying to imitate Elvis's most famous move. The problem was, Ali's hips didn't move like Elvis's hips. Elvis made it look smooth, natural, almost liquid. Ali looked like he was having some kind of medical emergency. And then, in the middle of his exaggerated hip swivel, Ali's foot slipped. Maybe it was the waxed stage floor. Maybe it was because he was trying too hard. Maybe it was just karma for his trash talk. But Muhammad Ali, the greatest heavyweight champion in the world, the man who floated like a butterfly and stung like a bee, fell flat on his back in the middle of the Dean Martin show stage. The audience gasped. Then, when they realized Ali wasn't hurt, they exploded with laughter. Even the band stopped playing because they were laughing too hard to continue. Elvis stood over Ali, hand extended to help him up, with the biggest smile on his face. "Still think you're the greatest dancer, champ?" Ali, to his credit, was laughing as hard as anyone. He grabbed Elvis's hand and pulled himself up. Okay, Ali said, brushing himself off. "Maybe, just maybe, the king might have better dance moves than the champ." The audience gave them both a standing ovation that lasted nearly 2 minutes. Dean Martin walked over, still chuckling. "Well, gentlemen, I think we have a winner. And by winner, I mean we all won by watching this beautiful disaster." Elvis and Ali stood there, arms around each other's shoulders, both sweating, both laughing, both having clearly enjoyed themselves despite the chaos. But the story doesn't end there. After the cameras stopped rolling and the audience filed out, something unexpected happened. Elvis and Ali sat in Elvis's dressing room for over an hour, just talking. Not as the king and the champ, but as two men who understood what it meant to be at the top of your field with the whole world watching your every move. "You know what's funny?" Ali said. "People expect us to be rivals, two guys both called the greatest at what we do. But I don't feel like your rival, Elvis. I feel like I just made a friend." Elvis nodded. "I was thinking the same thing, champ. We're both just trying to do our best and make people happy. That's all any of us can do." Before Ali left that night, they exchanged gifts. Elvis gave Ali a scarf from one of his concerts. Ali gave Elvis a pair of his boxing gloves with a note that read, "From the King, from the greatest. Friends forever." The footage from that dance-off was replayed for weeks. It became one of the most requested segments in Dean Martin's show history. Critics called it spontaneous television gold. Entertainment Tonight, which wouldn't exist for another decade, would later rank it as one of the top unscripted moments in television history. But what made the moment truly special wasn't the dancing or the falling or the competition. It was watching two legends be humble enough to laugh at themselves and confident enough to challenge each other. In the weeks after the show aired, both Elvis and Ali did interviews where they were asked about that night. Their answers were remarkably similar. Both said it was one of the most fun experiences of their careers. Both said they'd gained enormous respect for what the other person did. And both said that sometimes you have to be willing to look foolish to have a great time. Dean Martin, in his autobiography published years later, wrote that the Ali-Elvis dance-off was his favorite moment in all his years of television. "You can't write that kind of magic," Dean wrote. "You can't script two legends deciding to just be silly and competitive and human. That's the kind of thing that reminds you why live television is so special." The story of Elvis and Muhammad Ali's dance-off reminds us that greatness doesn't mean taking yourself too seriously. It means being confident enough in your abilities that you can laugh when things go wrong. It means being competitive but not mean-spirited. It means understanding that sometimes the best moments come from saying yes to something unexpected and ridiculous. Elvis and Ali never did another dance-off, but they remained friends. Ali attended some of Elvis's concerts. Elvis sent congratulatory telegrams when Ali won big fights. And both of them, for the rest of their lives, would smile whenever someone brought up that October night in 1969, when two legends tried to outdance each other and ended up flat on the floor, laughing together. That's the beauty of that moment. It wasn't about who was better. It was about two people at the peak of their powers being willing to be vulnerable, silly, and real in front of millions of people. And maybe that's the real lesson. The greatest among us aren't the ones who never fall. They're the ones who fall, laugh, get back up, and keep dancing. If this incredible story of competition and friendship moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear about the power of not taking yourself too seriously. Have you ever had a friendly competition that turned into a great memory? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to ring that notification bell for more amazing true stories about the moments when legends show us they're human too.